Start out, we'll do number one, call to order, roll call. We will start with Councilmember Cragen, Councilmember Babb.
Here.
To my right, Councilmember Scott. Here. Councilmember Scott. Councilmember Schultz. Community Service Director Roger Krieger. City Clerk Treasurer Debbie Craigson. So, number two on the item is invocation. And Deacon Joe Nicholas, would you entertain us, please?
Sure.
And stay standing for pledge of allegiance.
I could give a prayer for a funeral if you'd like, but I got one better than that. So let us pray. God of justice and mercy, we thank you for this day, for the gift of life, and the opportunity for our mayor, our city council, and other officials who serve the people of Deer Park to resume meeting together once more. Let everything discussed during this meeting align with your word, and may its members speak with humility when presenting their ideas. In your wisdom and mercy, guide them to be the leaders your people need, and inspire them to conduct their work with a spirit of joy and enthusiasm. And finally, renew each of us with the strength of your presence, and help our leaders build a community worthy of those that they serve. And we ask all of this as your sons and daughters, confident in your goodness and in your ever love. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Deacon. Okay, next on the item is item 3, approval of agenda.
Motion to approve.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second? There's a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Motion approved. Item 4, approval of June 16th, 2021 regular council meeting minutes and June 30th, 2021 special council meeting minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. We have item 5 under new business. We have none. Item 6 is resolutions. Item A is resolution 2021-003, ratifying the mayor's signature on the COVID American Rescue Plan Act, required agreements and documents, and confirming the intent to use the ARPA funds for the purpose of paying a portion of the cost of the sewer infrastructure. Before we do that, let's have Roger speak.
Make a motion to approve.
A second?
Second.
Well, so the resolution comes from the American Rescue Plan that had funds out for all those communities that were non-entitlement in the state of Washington. And of that, we got a portion of it. It came with a few strings, as all federal funds do. One of the first ones was the timing with which we had to send in the documentation to even accept the award. The various provisions of it, they had specific bulleted items where they wanted you to send it in. You could pay for emergency responders that were involved through the time frame. You could pay for lost wages of employees from the government if you wanted to do that. There were an option of business allocation expenses. And probably one of the biggest ones we looked at, there was a infrastructure, direct sewer and water infrastructure were specifically highlighted there as where they're trying to put money back into projects and things like that. Well, as you know, we've been applying for funds for the sewer lagoon project. And because our community no longer qualifies for hardship status because of the growth and the residents and the surveys that have been done, we no longer qualify. In the past, we received 50% grants for our project. So we've got a couple of different $5 million grants from them. And we no longer qualify under that with our population base and the revenues and the construction and so forth. And so we're on the hook for the total of the bill, which is about $6 million. So when this came around, there was the instant way, and it was infrastructure planning, or infrastructure projects and so forth. We looked really hard at that, and I started talking with Tim, got into it and tried to calculate what it meant rates-wise from the standpoint of being able to use this fund for all the residents as a reduction to benefit them versus maybe just a few, because we did that first initial funding that we had from the business that was set for that kind of entities. And so I looked at that, I looked at reserve funds that we've been building towards this project, and roughly we can take about a third of the project off the cost with revenues we've generated plus this grant. And we get into a situation where we're looking at rates for a $4 million loan instead of a $6 million loan. So it really starts making a lot of difference. The funding comes in two different increments. It comes, and I believe we've received the first half.
691,000.
691? Yeah. So we received that. It was pretty quick timing. You fill out the form and the money comes the next week, basically. And the other one comes next year. So with this project that we're working on, we had the notification from the Department of Health that we awarded the offer. We've been working on the loan agreement. Soon we'll be hearing from our permitting manager as far as the steps and so forth to actually go forth, and then there'll be a document back to the council to approve. This project, just brief summary, is to replace the sewer treatment lagoon in its entirety, basically, that was built in 1985, that had a design life of 15 years in the liner, and so we're substantially over that. Down there by Dragoon Creek, it has a lot of different things that Department of Dam Safety with Ecology are afters about, so it's a project that we can't not do, and this funding mechanism showed up at a time that, you know, again, as we looked at it, it's a way to maybe benefit everybody by trying to keep the rates down. If, you know, we've raised sewer rates at 1 or 2% a year from a cost of living standpoint or cost of operation standpoint. If we can stay in that realm, that makes this project a lot more affordable than if we jump out and have to raise it 5, 6, 8% to make that rate every year. So that's a little bit about the gist of this resolution. Timing wise, it was one of those that, you know, you had to get the document in, or you could send the document and say, no, we didn't want the money, and that didn't seem like it makes sense.
So do we have any comments or questions for Roger? We'll start with you, Dean.
You explained it quite clearly.
Barry?
No, I haven't.
Richie?
No questions.
Jim?
I'm curious, when did we start saving for the reserve fund? That's
We've been saving for about 2.5 years now. It's been on our capital improvement project list for quite a while. And obviously with this big growth of 100 and some units last year, that was a big pot that went into that. You know, $2.5 million we had to be able to put towards it out of our funds, accounting this grant, to knock that $6.5 million loan down to something a lot less that we'll have to deal with rates later. And again, I think if we, the way I looked at it, projected out over 20 years, if we can stay at our 1%, 2% max rate increases, we can cover the payments of this loan being added to it over that life. And so we're in pretty good shape if we can buy that loan down.
okay. And what's the expected, do we have a projection of what the expected borrowing rate would be at this point?
1.25%.
I think that's all my questions.
Rob?
Roger explained it clearly, so.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your hand and signify aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Item 7 is ordinances. This is the third reading. Item A is ordinance 2021-1000, designating the sheriff of Spokane County as the chief law enforcement officer of the city.
Make a motion to approve. Let's do 2021-1000.
We have a second. Second. We have a motion second. And Roger, are you familiar with that?
Not much.
I'm not. Is out of town tonight.
The only part, I guess, that I remember hearing about is we don't have anything in our current code book that specifically identifies the sheriff as the officer of the city. And the contract does hire them and provide funding and all that kind of stuff, but as I understand it, we really need to have an ordinance in place that specifically identifies the sheriff and his deputies as the guys that are supposed to be enforcing the laws that they've been doing for quite some time. I think he said it was something he was looking for and was kind of surprised that it didn't show up in the code as that. So something needs to be added. It's more of a housekeeping thing. Someday, if the council decides to go a different way, it's a matter of amending that ordinance, and you go back to that, and you'll have to do that anyway. They set up your own police department. So it's just really a housekeeping one. It's not a very good term, but that's really what it is.
Any questions? So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand and signify aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Item 8 is consent agenda. We'll start with letter A, approval of voucher claim check numbers 39,497 through 39,532, including EFD debt in the amount of $301,365.32 for the second half of June 2021. Item B is approval of payroll checks number 14,181 through 14,234, including EFD debits, PMFL, 941 taxes and health benefits in the amount of $132,002.06 for the month of June 2021. Shamrock Glen addition plot approval, file LP 2018-1. Do we have any comments on that, questions?
Motion to approve consent agenda.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions by the council? Well, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Motion carried. Item 9, report of officers. Since Daryl and Brad are here, we're going to start with you, Daryl, on your update on the fire situation with the aircraft.
So the airport's been very, very busy. We've been adding and moving a lot of aircraft. Right now we have 3 Fireboss aircraft on the field, 1 large Black Hawk helicopter, an air attack, and a reconnaissance aircraft. They've been all going out almost every day on various fires. The thunderstorms and lightning that went through this morning and again this afternoon have kept them fairly busy as well. So far though, they've been very lucky in getting the fires under control fairly quickly and not allowing them to grow too large.
Bill, do you have anything to add?
Not particularly, other than just my appreciation, Mr. Mayor and council members, for your efforts with the 4th of July holiday, and I think that saved us a tremendous amount of work over the years. So certainly appreciate what I know is a difficult decision.
Thank you. Brad?
Swimming pool's open, running, everybody's happy. You know, it's a go. That was a struggle. But we ended up getting 9 lifeguards, certified lifeguards, and we hired one lady that was the COVID coordinator for the Riverside Elementary School. She's working our front counter area, keeping track of people coming and going, keeping a running list of their names, phone numbers, addresses. So if we do need to track people down, we can.
Just as a precaution.
Just as a precaution. I spoke with the Spokane Regional Health today. They're sounding as though they're as confused about the governor's orders as everybody else is. So we went over and above what she even feels that we needed to do, but she said keep doing it, and that's what we're going to do. So.
Thank you. That was a lot of work you did. Great job. Okay, so let's get back to report of officers. We'll start with Councilmember Cragen.
I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
Okay. Councilmember Bab.
I'm just glad we're all back together, and I think that's pretty neat, so that's it.
Councilmember Scott.
I just want to say thank you for the work that you put into getting that pool open. That's greatly appreciated, and I'm sure there's a whole lot of people that are going to enjoy that throughout the rest of the summer. So thank you for doing that.
A couple of things. Roger, I had somebody ask me why the roundabout, the new one, was slanted. And I noticed that myself and was curious. I assume there's a wonderful explanation.
So there's a lot of conjectures. Actually, how it was explained, and if you drive up, there's more grade through that intersection than you think there is. There's
Okay.
about a 3-foot difference when we started with that project from the east side, from the east side to the west side.
Okay.
And how you have to make stormwater work so it doesn't continue on down the street is you have to raise the center to try and force the water to the outside. Then if you drive up Colville Avenue, you'll see even a steeper grade as you come up to that. That's been there forever. That I never noticed it driving up to a stop sign for all these years. Except sometimes in the winter you see a lot of skid marks there from people trying to take off in the snow. Well, to make all those grades function, you have to raise the height on the east side to make the water stay from going all the way to the west side and on down the road. And that's what drove it. Then the next thing is Department of Health only allows you to have a 12-inch high object in the way of the roadway. Even though in some places you'll see big rocks and ornaments and all the other kind of stuff. Well, that center median that we've basically elected for years in ours versus something that has to be maintained and all that stuff in the middle, that's why it lays that way. Now, I'd love to tell you it's part of solar and all that kind of stuff, but it's really not. It's just the way the grades all work through there to make the drainage function is what's really driving it.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And that part of it does work well, the little bit of rain we've had.
How can you contain 10 drops?
But it had rain before that one.
No, thank you for that. I appreciate that. I also thought it was a great time to revisit, especially after Spokane City Council removed their resolution about the mayor's emergency powers, different things, to revisit that topic. And so I would move to revoke those emergency powers and head us back towards a normal operating procedure.
Make a motion?
Second?
We have a motion second to revoke my powers.
No.
Well, I'm little, so I don't have great powers. We have a motion and a second. Yes.
Something you have to remember is that was done by resolution. So
Chuck has to draw that up.
well, yeah, so all you can do at this stage of the game is you could have
Ask him to
staff
draw
to
it
be
up.
directed to draft a resolution that will come back to you to officially do it, because it was set by resolution. So
Thank
it's
you.
So
timing this.
now here's where you need to be cautious, because that $1.2 million came from CARES. We're not done with the pandemic yet. There's still this possible funding coming down the road. Do you want to lose that?
Yeah, somebody brought that up to me today, and I really appreciated the time to think about that, because that is an important issue. However, seeing how communities, schools, various other organizations have responded to the carrot and stick of federal funding in the past, I think that this is an important point to go ahead and move forward with, in my opinion. And so, could very well be wrong, but I would move forward with that at this point.
What is your point? I have not expressed any powers on it.
Oh, no, I completely agree. You've been great. And this is the follow through on a general principle.
Who's general principal?
What was that?
I'm who's general principal?
On my belief that emergency powers should be short and should be directed towards something that is an ongoing need.
This has already been a year and a half. What's another 2 months?
That's a reasonable idea, but
I just don't want to miss out on additional funding.
Again, I see your point. I would just disagree, and I think emergency powers should be 30 days, maybe 45 or 60. I think the opposite side of that point is it's been a year and a half. That's a year and 5 months too long. You know, it's been 13 months or something. So I know I got the timing wrong on that, but in general, emergency power should be very short and very limited, and at all possible, we should operate according to our normal procedures. And for the last 12, 11 months, we've been able to make decisions as a group. Most of those have not needed emergency style timing, and I appreciate that. I think that's great. I'm not at all thinking you have misused those powers, but I would say emergency power should be short, and we don't seem to need them at this point. We should go ahead and move past it.
So we have a motion and a second. And all in favor? Aye. What's?
But it's to draft.
And I'll amend,
Draft it,
I'll
right.
happy to amend my motion to direct staff to draft a resolution. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
And I still agree to second.
Okay.
You seconded it, so. How do you vote?
No.
Oh,
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Motion failed. Okay, next on the item is Ron.
Well, I'm just glad that we're all back here in person and that life's starting to be a little bit normal. It's great to see everybody here again, so just glad to be here, so that's it.
Okay, the one y'all been waiting for, item 10, interested citizens or communications. Requests and comments from the audience on unrelated agenda items. Leilani.
I would like to thank the City of Deer Park, the maintenance crew. I get tired of being in my house by myself. So I get in my car and I drive around. Our parks, with this horrible heat, our parks look amazing. And I have to say, our school grounds do too. But I want to thank your crews that you have hired. Our town is looking awesome, and thank you.
Joe?
This is kind of a two-part thing. The Swinyard well, what's the timing on the parks getting in, Roger?
So, talking with our pump folks today, they expect the pump to be ready to come back to us from the manufacturer in 12 days, is what they're shooting for. The motor has already been sent to the shop and to be picked up and be ready to go. All the other steel components are supposed to be on their way and so forth, and so if we have any good success in 2 weeks, it should be back up and, well, it should be in. We still have to blow a bunch of water out on the parks to add some more water to the grass. But we should be able to get it fired up and then back online.
Okay, so what's happening then is not replacement, but rather remanufacturing?
Yeah, basically, in 2001, we went through this with the same well in May for some reason, but this time we're not really sure what happened to the pump bowls. It's a series of chambers that is a sealed unit, and they haven't even attempted to try and cut it apart yet, but something let go inside that in a bearing, in a vein of one of the propellers, or something inside there that was enough to not be able to be passed and stop the pump and stop the motor and burn some fuses up, and all in one fell swoop. Yes. So we've been in this before the North Dalton well came online. We had big water usage in the summertime, and that well's helped a bunch. So now it's taken its place, and every night we drop about 30 feet of water in the reservoirs, even with the ask we've made to try to conserve water or use water less. So it's dropped some, but we get caught up during the day. So we're back up by about 3 o'clock, all the tanks are full again, and then we start through the cycle again through the night, because that's when everybody's watering. And so I think even if people water during the day, it might help us a little bit, and it's kind of a waste of water of the heat too, so.
Okay.
So it's rolling. Heat's bad for us, it just really is for all of our pumps.
I think it's because I understand you were gone on vacation.
Yeah.
That's when things always break down.
Making phone calls from somewhere else without very good cell coverage.
I had one more quick thing, and this is kind of for Brad, it's a thought I had. Since you have to have a COVID person there keeping track of people going in and out, and et cetera, it seems like it would be a wonderful opportunity to come up with a number of how many usages the park's swimming pool gets during the season?
No, we
You
keep
do?
track.
You keep track of that?
Everybody
You keep track
signs
of that?
in, yep.
Yeah.
So I can give you almost an hourly.
Yeah, I mean, normally you don't do that, and I thought that's.
Yeah, no, we do. We always
Oh,
keep
you
track.
always, you
Yep.
always have to?
Yeah, yeah, Department of Health, we have to, if they ask, they want to know hourly what our chemical levels are and our bather load is.
I was ignorant.
Yeah. Yep.
Good? You good, Joe?
Yep, I'm good.
Samantha, do you have anything?
I do. Thank you.
I knew you would.
Just to add on a question about the wells, what is the cutoff to where we would be in a real pickle? Because I noticed the golf course is very well watered, so I'm trying to figure out at what point would we need to really conserve water for that?
Well, if we weren't recovering during the day, it would be a bigger issue always. And, don't get me wrong, is the people that live closest to the tank have the worst pressure, so they would see it as the problem is right now. Their water pressure in their houses is maybe 20 PSI, where down in this neck of the woods, even when the tank's down, it's probably 45 or 50, so you don't really see it. But the people closest to that elevation do. So,
Where is that well located?
pardon me?
Where is that well located?
Oh, the well's in Swinier Park, but it's all based on the tanks, the water tanks.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what drives the
Oh,
pressures.
also, is that a new water tank that we're building?
Yes.
Okay, and is that a replacement or a?
It's to replace the one that's standing adjacent to it,
Okay.
yeah.
And are we still going to use that one, or we're switching over to this new one?
We would switch over the new one, and then after Verizon moves their cell equipment, then we'd remove that one.
Okay. Sorry, I interrupted you on the question about where we would need to be for.
Yeah, again, it's all about recovery time, and so we have all of those wells. We have 8 wells, and the rest of them are. Well, I'm not going to say that, but the rest of them are working just perfect. They're bringing their levels back. We still need to really look at trying to get another one drilled somewhere in town that's a high production like Swiniard well is. Swiniard well pumps about 930, 940 gallons a minute. A couple others do 200 gallons a minute, so it's a big spread. So we really need to still find another spot where we can sink one more well or wells in time to add to the supply, and then a big well comes offline, it doesn't hurt so bad.
How does that affect, with all of the new houses and stuff going in? How are we going to be if we do we have enough?
We have enough water capacity. Again, it's more of something like this comes down is what causes the problems, and so it's incumbent upon us to take a look at trying to locate another well that adds to the system. You'd think 8 or 9 of them are plenty, but something like this only happens and then you see the issues. So
How long does that process take? Is it years?
well,
years?
if it's a grant involved in that whole process of locating and building it, Department of Ecology acceptance of the location and so forth, you can spend 2 years and $1 million before you know it for one well that will produce a volume. And so it's not a cheap thing. And then again, as I mentioned earlier, we're going after one more grant this year through block grant to try and refurbish the North Dalton number 1 well, similar to how we built North Dalton number 2. And if we can do that, we'll get back in another well into the 700-800 gallons a minute range. But currently, we qualify under the hardship benefit with Community Development Block Grant, and we won't know when we fall out of that until up to the point of application and acceptance. So there's a good chance that won't be there, but we're going to try at least one more time. So it's just money. It all is.
Money.
It's just all it.
Okay, speaking of money, my other question. Oh, go ahead.
To answer it, the golf course is cut back, and so has the park systems.
Okay.
They go.
Schools too.
Okay.
So we contacted, I had my staff contact, they got a little Brad right away, and so we started to reduce the schools, the golf course, to water things they can stand to not water as much,
Yeah.
We put a notice on our website, and it's not what I would say we would, call the news in and go full-blown, you can't water your yards anymore.
Yeah.
Because we are recovering during the day, but you know, if this well took longer than, well, again, we think we'll see it in 12 to 14 days back online, and we moved up the list of ways to get it that fast.
My one other question is, I don't want to rehash the fireworks issue, but I wanted to find out, we've now not had a public display 2 years in a row, and to my knowledge, those were costing about $10,000 each. So what's happening with that money? Are we going to redo the show? When, if, and where's that money going now that we have about $20,000?
Okay, I talked to them the week before, and what they did is, we will have, we paid them a fee of $10,000. We have a free show coming whenever the council decides to. We kind of tabled that, Samantha, till August or September, when we get past the fire season on that. Maybe January 1st or whatever. We have that coming to us. So.
Has that already been paid, or is that money that we have?
It's already been paid.
Okay.
We've already received
So
the
did
check.
they, oh, but they didn't get money last year, because that was
Right,
canceled.
because we
Okay.
can't,
Yeah.
cancel way ahead of time. on
Yeah,
that.
okay.
Yeah, I'm sure they already have the product in hand and so, yeah.
Anybody else? Matt?
Hello?
How are you?
Good.
I thought at the intersection that the bike laying on the ground was devastating, but it came out of the back of this truck, right?
They did.
Okay, that's good news. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I just have a question or comment, I'm not sure, but this Saturday, Spokane Quarantine is coming to Deer Park. It's a big deal, and some people here have worked really, really hard on that. And I was just wondering about our city government. I mean, are you aware that that's happening this week? I guess, you know, we want to welcome all these people that are going to be coming up to this town, spending their money in our businesses. And I was just curious to see what our city government will do, feels about it, thinks about it.
I'm aware, I'm excited. I hadn't thought of anything the city, as the city government could think of to do.
It's more of a chamber type, isn't it?
Yeah, I know the chamber has done some work to prepare for that as well, and it's offering balloons and some different things. I know Rachel has done a great job helping spread the word as well. Yeah.
What do you need?
Great
What?
question.
What do you need?
I know Medical Lake, the mayor welcomed, and there was a presence, I guess, of the city government when Spokane Quarantine went to Medical Lake. So.
Well, yeah, we could do fireworks.
And it's more out of curiosity and just, were you even aware? So.
A few ideas would be asking Jessica to post something on the city website. Any
That's this,
signage.
excuse me, that's this Saturday?
Yes.
What time?
All day.
All day?
Yeah, all day. Yeah, just posting on the city website.
Yep.
Could drum up a quick proclamation of welcome, something like that.
I was asked about putting up a sign. Do you want to put up a sign?
Somebody
Yeah.
has a sign.
Yeah.
It's already been taken care of. Okay,
It's down there? Oh, okay,
Well,
perfect.
it's not up yet.
It's not up yet, but you're gonna put
like
like across from the chevron? That's what we talked about? Okay,
Already
perfect.
handled.
All right, perfect.
Any suggestions?
I think maybe a proclamation, if you wanted to draft a proclamation, and
I see you.
oh, this would, no, I'm sorry, I won't make that comment. I was thinking about emergency powers and things you could do, but, sorry.
We won't go there.
Yeah. No, I think the proclamation from you as the mayor, welcoming them, that's a great thing. And then I think the main thing to do is just to demonstrate our appreciation. Because there are people coming to spend money here that not only benefits the businesses and the citizens, but indirectly the city government as far as sales tax and things like that, so.
Could we put like more signs like welcoming on the roundabout, like coming into town? Like not the one with the weeds, but the one, which that would have been nice to fix up. Welcome to Deer Park. Can we mow that maybe? Actually, that's a great idea. Can we weed whack that? So that one would be good. Or like the one by Salty Dog, like have a big sign that says welcome, or something, balloons, or even just a board, I don't know, something.
Can you get with me afterwards? We'll see what we can come up with. So. Anybody else? You have the,
Look, the reader board, is that a Chamber of Commerce or is that a city reader board out on the
Chamber
highway?
of Commerce.
Okay.
Yes, Leila.
I have a question because I'm one of those that, I'm a doting grandma of all the kids in Deer Park. I happen to drive by Swinyer Park, and we've got that beautiful skate park there for the kids. But if you will look to the north, there's a tree leaning on some private property, and I realize that people own that. But I get concerned with the winds we get. If that falls, it's gonna fall right on the skate park. Is there anything the city can do or talk to them about the safety of it?
Not if it's on personal property. We don't have any jurisdiction on it.
So we just.
You can just warn them, we can physically warn them, but.
So we just will do some
or you
prayers
can
and
have,
little kids get hurt.
Home and look at it.
It's on
For our-
private property, if he doesn't want to cut it down. there's-
No, I bet, but he can do analysis.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Yeah, but you know, Scott's pretty cooperative.
Is that Scott, is that Scotty's house?
That's not, yeah, it's in front of Scott's.
Okay. I'll talk to him.
Yeah.
No,
I mean,
I don't know
think,
if somebody else could drive by and look. It just concerns me because it seems like it's tilting towards the skate park.
it's got a pretty good 15 degree list, you know. So, I don't think it would be a situation where Scott, the property owner, would say, hey, yeah, I'd be glad to pay to have that removed. But if the city was gonna remove it, he might be okay with that. Maybe. I'm talking for somebody else, which I should never do.
Anybody else? Jason?
You seem to indicate maybe there are some grants. Are there grants that we've applied for or are wanting to apply for with the emergency situation? Or
They just shoot up impulse. That's what happened with the 1.2.
Okay.
We were not aware of it till it hit our emails.
Okay.
So, unpredictable, let's put it that way. It's unpredictable. Jim?
I'd like to thank the fire department. Last week, somebody's umbrella from their picnic table wound up on their roof. And your guys went out and got it down so an older gentleman wouldn't climb up there by himself to get it down. You saved that guy from a broken leg or worse. So I want to thank the fire department for what you guys did.
Anybody else? Okay, if not, yes.
I had a couple
Michael.
questions. I was curious if there was anybody cited or fined this last weekend for consumer fireworks.
There were, but how many, I don't know. The fine started at $25 up to $500, and it's a civil infraction as well.
Right.
So I had 3 sheriffs and Mr. Schultz here in the unmarked scope car, and they were out till 12:30, whatever, 1:00. I was out till 11:30. They had their hands full for a little while, and had some people that were mischievous. All
That
in
was
all,
up till 2:30.
what's that?
That was
Yeah,
up till
yeah,
2:30.
up to 2:30. But the main concern was fire and protecting people's property and lives. That they accomplished that. So, and I told Michael, your 3 deputies, man, they did a great job. So,
Thank you.
okay. That's it. Number 11 is adjournment. We're adjourned. Thank you all. Nice to see you.